Would you please, ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome our first mother and daughter, Manit Tang Rice. Please, take any seat. You have the first choice.
And Manit Tang Rice is also joined by her daughter, Jessie Thang. And our second pair, our second mother-daughter coupling, and forgive me, I want to honor your name. We have the Colemans. And Mrs. and Miss Coleman, if you could you tell us your name and pronounce it for us?
So, aloha and talofa love, everyone. My name is Kolini Fipulia Ito'omlansai Coleman. We prefer pronouns as she, her, hers. And this is my mom.
My name is Malaya Fipulia Ito'omlansai Coleman.
Thank you. And after mother and daughter, ladies and gentlemen, please join me welcome Sawan De La Tour and Sarah Holland.
And next we have LaShawn Lee and Diamond Lee. We'd also like to welcome Fe Marie Zavala and Chloe Bautista.
And followed by Miss Malin Nguyen and Dan Tu Pham.
Let's continue our warm welcome of Christine Chico and Erlinda Chico.
Next we have Miss Elizabeth Haynes and Chloe Haynes. And ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please join me to welcome our moderator, Dr. Lek Kanaheng.
Dr. Lek Kanaheng Tapero is a 1.5 generation Cambodian Chinese American. Her family are refugees. They moved to the United States when she was just 4 years old. She's a first generation college graduate, so we know it can be done. But she didn't stop with just one degree, she got many. Dr. Tapero received her bachelor's degree and master's degree in psychology from San Diego State University. And then she didn't stop there. She got a Master of Science in Counseling, Family and Human Services, and then finally her Counseling Psychology PhD at the University of Oregon. Dr. Tapero completed her pre-doctoral internship at Cal State University, Long Beach in the CAPS department, so in Counseling and Psychology Services. She completed her postdoctoral residency at the University of California, San Diego, also in Counseling and Psychological Services, where she currently works as a counseling psychologist. Dr. Tapero's multicultural identities and life experiences shapes her work as a mental health provider. She's passionate and serves communities that are underrepresented and marginalized. Dr. Tapero is an OG. And what do I mean by that? She was one of the original trainers for the Khmer Parent Association's Khmer Mother and Daughter Intergenerational Leadership Training Program in 2014 to 15. And it was from this training program that birthed this notion of this conference that we get to come together for this morning. She has been facilitating the Mother-Daughter panel since the first year. And happily, she's joined us today all the way from San Diego. Everybody, let us please welcome Dr. Tapero.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'm really excited to take part in our third annual Mother-Daughter Conference and then be the panel facilitator again. This is the third year that I'm doing it, and every year when we all come together the last Saturday of February and we have our mother-daughter pairs on the panel, I'm just so amazed by the diversity, just having such strong and powerful mother-daughters. And so we're really excited to be here with all of you today. I'm going to be facilitating the panel, and so we have a list of questions for each mother-daughter to answer. And I know we started the conference a little bit late, and so unfortunately, we won't be able to have time to have all the mother-daughters answer each of the questions, and so we'll kind of be flexible with it, and each pair will kind of take turn answering a question that really stands out to them. And then we'll have a Q&A portion at the end. And so we'll begin, and if you would like to, you all can introduce yourselves again to the audience before you answer the question, and I'll just kind of take turns looking from left to right over here. So we'll get started. The purpose of the Mother-Daughter panel was to really have an opportunity for mothers and daughters to share their experiences, talk a little bit about their relationship, and also hear a little bit from the audience, because every time we have the panel, we learn so much from each other. And as you can see with our mothers and daughters on the panel today, we have such a diverse range, and so I'm really excited for you all to hear about their experiences. And so we're going to start off with hearing a little bit about how families from different culture express love for one another. And so the first question, so families from different cultural backgrounds express their love for one another in a variety of ways. For example, mothers and daughters may show their love for one another by spending time together, talking with one another, sharing their feelings, giving each other hugs. And so sometimes love is expressed in really different ways depending on your family and cultural upbringing. And so mothers and daughters, if you can please share an example of how your daughter shows her love for you, or how your mother shows her love for you, please share us a little bit about that. If you would like to, you can share with us verbal expressions of love in your native language so that we can hear a little bit about what that's like.
Sure. So my name is Diamond Lee, and this is my mother, LaShawn Lee. Just a quick question for everyone. How many of you all talk to your mother in conversation, whether it's on the phone or in person, at least 3 times a week? Okay, 4 times a week? 5? 6? 7? Okay, well, I'll just say I am a 29-year-old woman who lives down the street from her mother and talks to her every single day. And I say that with all the pride in the world. I'm not ashamed of it at all. People always question, like, what do you guys even talk about? Sometimes it'll be, 11 o'clock at night. It just feels weird, and one of us will call each other and be like, oh, I just wanted to say hi, just checking in. And so for me, again, this is something we've had this relationship. I went away for college. Again, in college, we talked every day. And I think that's like our greatest expression of love, just checking in with one another, being able to constantly, see how each other's doing. We go shopping together. We're like really like sister, mother, daughter. And people literally think that we're sisters, actually. We're like sisters and mothers. And it wasn't always that way, actually. It more so became that way when I became an adult, because I feel like there was very strong boundaries in place when I was younger, and that actually allowed us to have the relationship that we currently have. She did not play when I was coming up. And another expression of love that I feel that she's displayed for me is just being a strong model. Some parents would like to say, like, do as I say, not as I do, but for her, it's really been like, I'm going to show you how to live your life. And every day I see her praying in the morning. When I'm dealing with something, a challenge, she's like, I'm praying on it for you. Like, just a very strong model of love for me. So.
Hi, my name is LaShawn Lee, and I just basically want to say that I would say that her expression of love to me and my expression of love to her is that every year since she was a little girl, she's always given me these really nice cards, and the cards are always very heartfelt, and they're always very pointed and directed towards our relationship and our friendship. So I would basically say that just the cards that she would give me throughout the years, and I probably have about 20 of them, and I saved them. And sometimes I go back and I look at those cards, because it's not like she just goes out and purchases a card. I mean, she really takes time and reads through these cards and makes sure those cards are based on our relationships, our experiences. And as a mother, I couldn't ask for a better daughter. Our relationship started based on my relationship and my faith in God, my relationship with my mother, my relationship with my sisters, and it's very important. Family to me is very important, along with your relationship and whatever faith you believe in. So I've always taught her to be kind, to have a good heart, and treat people the way that you want to be treated. And so we both instilled that in our relationship. We respect and treat each other. We treat each other with respect and just respect and understanding.
Hi, my name is Manette Tang Rice. The way I express myself, and I also want to say that I am first generation Khmer, so I wasn't instilled to hug or to do kisses and stuff. But when my daughter was younger, I did do that. But as we got older, kind of got out of that. I'm like, no, I'm going to provide shelter, try to instill education in her. I'm also the first to graduate from college. I had her in college, and lo and behold, she's in college now. Some of the things that I remember with my daughter is now the way she would express herself is, I'm a coffee fanatic, so she'll bring me coffee in the morning. That's how she shows her love for me. Some other things like we do together is, we often, with my mom, we don't have conversations, but with her, I wanted to break that challenge and break those boundaries or the cultural that we didn't have. And we actually have conversations where we get boba together for a couple hours, maybe have some ramen. That's some of the ways that I express my love for my daughter and things like that. She might have other things, but for right now, yes.
Hello, I'm Jessie Tang. Some things that my mom shows me that she loves me is that at a young age, she always told me to be proud of myself. Being mixed Black and Cambodian, that it's a constant struggle, and I think she guided me to be who I am today. She guides me now with my education, with my work. Not only does she tells me to be proud, but also to be confident. I wouldn't have got a recent job without her support of sitting down with me, working on my resume, sitting down with me, asking me the questions of interviews. So I feel like she shows her love by supporting me.
Do you have any one last mother-daughter pair? Yes, sir.
Hello, ជំរាបសួរ ខ្ញុំឈ្មោះ Sarah Paulim នេះជាម្ដាយខ្ញុំ Saran Latour សេចក្តីស្រឡាញ់ right? So yes, so our culture we don't use a lot of verbal expression, but we know when the act of love on an everyday basis. I just know that my mother loves me. So I know I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't her courage, her love, getting me through the Khmer rule, through the camp, refugee camp, and here in the United States. So when I first got married, so my expression of love, I told my husband, my mother lived with me. So that was the condition. So she have always been living with us, And as I go through work and having children, she's my main, caretaker, and remain supportive through everything that I do in my life today. So my accomplishment today is my mother accomplishment.
We live in the same house. In the morning, so she do the breakfast and the lunch to the kids, and I prepare to drive them to school every day, every morning. And that's our love to the daughter and the grandchildren. And
Thank you so much. You can kind of hear from all the different responses. Love is expressed in so many different ways. I know for me, my mother, she always cooks for me. I'm married, I live in a different house. Sometimes she'll call me and say, I made some tuk bahok, you want me to bring you some? And so she's always thinking about me through food, and that's how she expresses her love. And so we have one last mother-daughter pair who would like to share about this. Yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Dawn Tu Fan, and my mom here is Mylin. I'll be translating for her in English as she speaks Vietnamese today. I would also like to thank you, Mrs. Chan Hobson and Dr. Lee, for having us today, giving us the opportunity to come together as mother and daughter and participate in this discussion. To answer the question, I think it goes back to when I was away from college. I was away from home to go to college, and I didn't have a chance to talk with her for so long that, it makes me feel like I was isolated. And the way that I expressed love for my mom was in writing. Through writing, I feel like I can share with her the letter. And it goes back to when I was a teenager. She would write me letters. And today, I graduated college and I came back, live with my parents, to support them in different ways. So nowadays, I would take her out to lunch, I would take her to coffee. I would call her once in a while, and sometimes she would give me some silences, and at that moment I realized, oh, maybe it's a time that I should give my mom the encouragement nowadays.
Tôi tên là Mỹ Linh Nguyễn và tôi xin được nói về với cái I'm sorry với anh Thương Phèn, con gái tôi thì thường thương mẹ, thường là cố gắng chăm học. Vì anh tôi nghĩ là trên đời thì mỗi người chúng ta đều mỗi người chỉ có một người mẹ, và mẹ là người đã sanh ra mình và nuôi nấng chăm sóc mình từ bé, đã từ thuở bé đã lo từ miếng ăn giấc ngủ cho mình cho đến lớn, thì đưa đón đi học và khuyên bảo dạy dỗ những điều hay lẽ phải, để khi một mai khi mà lớn lên trưởng thành mình sẽ có một đời sống tốt đẹp và hạnh phúc, và khi một mai mà mẹ không còn thì vẫn sống vững vàng và sống tốt đẹp, để luôn được sự thương yêu và là một người tốt. Luôn hy vọng con cái luôn là người con ngoan trong gia đình và là người tốt ngoài xã hội. Luôn khuyên bảo con cái sống có trách nhiệm, làm việc với tinh thần có từ trong gia đình có bổn phận và trách nhiệm với gia đình, và đến ra ngoài xã hội cũng là luôn giữ vững tinh thần tốt.
Thank you very much.
You might want to translate that.
So on behalf of her, I would like to translate what she just told me. She said that it is only one mother that you have in a lifetime, and it's important to treasure those moments. Take the time to think about one another every day. And she hopes that I become stronger and a better person in the society. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the next question. So parents usually have dreams or wishes for their children, hoping that their children will have great life opportunities and have successful careers and financial success. Mothers, when your daughter was born, did you have career dreams or wishes for your daughter? And what did you do when your daughter wanted to pursue something different than what you had envisioned for her? And then daughters, how did you navigate these conversations with your mother? What was the process like for you to pursue a career that was different than what your mother wanted for you?
Hello, I'm Christine Chico, my daughter Herlinda. When Herlinda was born, it was immediately apparent that she was a very smart child. And so from that moment, I knew that I was not going to select what I felt I wanted her to be in life. And as she grew, she was such a passionate person. I knew my role as her mother was to be supportive and to guide her in whatever she chose to do. And she didn't disappoint. We're very proud of her. She's done well, and I think that's just my opinion as far as being a parent. Sure, we'd like to live vicariously through our children. However, it's important to find out what their passion is and to support them in that area, show them love, let them know you're always there for them when they need you, and just help them in any way possible.
I'm Herlinda Chico. I do have a fantastic support system. I have two loving parents that have supported anything I wanted to do, even when it was unconventional. I really wanted to be a sports broadcast journalist for a very long time. I love sports. And I started as a journalist in high school, my freshman year. And my sophomore year, I was the youngest female sports editor the school had ever had. Continued on with journalism. And when I revealed that to my parents, they were always very supportive. There was no question if I decided to, they knew I was going to go to college, but whether or not I pursued that, they were going to support it. And I did, I graduated with a degree in communications, but I think the downside, if you look at it as a downside, I was so close to my family, I didn't want to move to a small area across the country to get started in television. And so I parlayed my background into public affairs and dabbled a little bit in television and co-anchoring at local news shows. So I got my fix there. But even when I made that decision, my parents supported me. So I think ultimately, that's what I took away, is that regardless of the decision I was going to make in terms of the career path I was going to go down, that my parents were always going to be there to love and support me, and that was very important in my success. Thank you.
just provide some context. So I mean, from a young age, I don't know if any of you all have dealt with this, like doctor, lawyer, engineer, like that's what we all want to grow up to be, right? And that's what our parents want to see us be, or that's how we feel at least. And so I chose attorney. From a very young age, I've always been really passionate, people-centered type of person. So I was like, oh, attorney, that sounds about right. And so my mom supported me in that. I think she liked that idea as well. But kind of as I got older and started figuring out my interests a little bit more, I understood that I did have a very like justice-oriented style and interest, but I decided to pursue a degree in social work, or a graduate degree in social work. And for me, I was really nervous to go from law to, which is like, oh, you think law and a lot of money, to social work where you think like, you're not gonna make anything. And so for me, I struggled internally, like, oh my God, how am I gonna not just tell this to my family, but just to people, you know, that this is what I wanna do. And I will say that my mother is one person I feel out of the many people I told about my decision to move forward with social work. She was really supportive, really open, was like, this is what you want to do, like whatever makes you happy, like I know that you're going to do well in whatever you do. And I think too for her, like she started doing a little bit of research and she saw that it wasn't too bad for social workers. You could make some money and, and earn a decent living, so I think that helped her as well. But in general, I will say, yeah, I was kind of surprised because I felt that she might have pushed back a little bit, but she was open. And I'll say that it's really important, it was important for me to feel like I had the space to explore and like I had the space to actually discover who I want to be and the things that I wanted to pursue. And when I did have the conversation with her, like it just made me feel all the more confident in my decision, because I knew that, okay, there might be a lot of people who have something to say about this, but this is one person that has my back on this. This is one person who I trust, who I know, you know, believes in me, and if she is saying that I'm good in this, then like I can do it. So
basically, all I really want to say is I never really envisioned a career for her. I always wanted her to make that selection herself. And like she said, from the time she was a little girl, she always said that she wanted to become an attorney. So that's kind of like what stood in my mind. So not only did she tell me, she told family and friends. So everybody throughout our family and friends thought that that's what she was going to college, to be an attorney. But in her second year of undergraduate school at Emory in Atlanta, she got a job just by chance, because a part-time job at an autism clinic. And from that point on, she just really liked that community and that industry. She liked helping people, serving people, and making a difference. So she did research on social work, autism, and all of that or whatever. And then she also did a lot of extensive research on attorneys, and she just felt like that, you know, being an attorney is definitely a great status and a great privilege for anyone, but she felt like, oh, but most of these attorneys, you know, they work long hours, they work a lot of long hours, you know, they're stressed out, they're depressed, they're over $200,000 in debt, and so she just really poured herself into becoming, she really liked helping people in the social work industry. So for me, it was really about her passion, her finding a niche in something that it wasn't really about the money to me. It was about her being happy. It was about being passionate about something that you really cared about, and something it's basically something that you care about or whatever. And so here she is now. She decided that so she came home after she graduated. She came home, lived at home for a while, saved up her money, bought her a condo. Then she worked full time as a case manager. Then she decided that she wanted to get her MSW. So she went to USC. She graduated, and now I'm just happy. I'm just so happy that she is passionate. I mean, she loves her job. She loves the industry that she's in. She loves helping people. Underprivileged is really what underprivileged communities. And now she's an associate director, and she's just moving. She's just doing what she enjoys. So I just say to all the young people in the audience right now, just remember to follow your dreams, follow your goals, write them down, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything. And just remember that success is in the journey, not the destination.
Hi, my name is Faye Marie Zabala. This is my daughter, Chloe Bautista. When she was born, I had always wanted high expectations for her. As a fairly new mother, I envisioned her achieving the honor roll, the dean's list, and doing her best at anything she puts her mind to. Once she started skating as a young child, I knew that skating was going to be her career. So I continued to support her dreams and goals financially and emotionally, because that's what she dedicated her life to. She also achieved the honor roll in school and the dean's list in college. She definitely went above and beyond my expectations, and she continues to amaze me with her accomplishments. So I really love what she did. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chloe. So my mom and I were always on the same page when it came to my skating career. She always supported me whenever I needed anything for skating, whether it was financially or emotionally. She was always there for the early mornings, for practice, all the competitions we had to travel to, test sessions, and skating lessons. She was always my rock, and the one I credit for a pretty successful skating career. She was always so supportive when I became older and started making my own skating decisions. When I made the decision to move to Boston to train at 17 years old, she was emotional but supported me 110%. And it was my mom that I leaned on for advice when I made the most difficult decision to retire from skating due to an injury and move back home 3 years later. When it came to academics, my mom had never really had to tell me to do my homework or study for tests. I've always been a pretty independent person, and I like to teach myself things and study on my own. So she was always very supportive, and she knew that she didn't really have to watch me to do my homework and everything like that. And that transferred into my college years and now into my professional career. So, thanks.
Thank you. So it sounds like for some of the moms that shared, they were just really happy and always supportive of whatever their daughter chose. And even though, as you go through college and you change your mind, it sounds like the mothers were always there supportive no matter what. So that's so great to hear. And so we'll move on to the next question. And so in our society today, girls often see themselves as less smart than boys. Girls often believe that they're less competent in math, and because of this, when they go on to college, they're less likely to pursue STEM majors. And so this is science, technology, engineering, and math. And so STEM have become male-dominated fields. And so mothers and daughters, can you share with us how we as society can address this issue? How would you encourage girls and women to be able to pursue STEM and to feel more confident in their abilities?
Well, that's a tough field for anyone. I think society has changed their perspective, and women, young ladies, are getting more involved in that area. I think it's important to establish a foundation and put emphasis on those classes, those being the science, technology, engineering, and math. Those are always difficult. It wasn't my favorite subjects. However, I think with the prerequisites, those classes done at an early age, and these young women being groomed, encouraged, because part of any battle is your confidence. And once you have some confidence in yourself that you're able to do it, then I think pretty much anything can be mastered. So if we expose our young ladies to these difficult classes and just help them along the way, I think there's going to be more and more women involved in that area.
So I'm terrible at math, terrible. Public speaking, communications, those were the things that I enjoyed, reading. So it's very important that we make sure that our young women are interested in that, so we can offer it to them and expose them, because I think that's where there was a gap, is boys were exposed to mathematics, engineering, technology. You look at the toys that we have for boys. They're robotics and Legos. Those are typically, traditionally geared for boys. I think incorporating those activities at a young age with women is going to help encourage and identify those young women who do have an interest in these areas. But I think that that's really important, exposing our young girls to it first, and then making sure that there's a definite interest. I can tell you, I struggled in math, and I would not, that would not have been the path for me to go down. And so once you've identified that, because we have some young women that are brilliant in mathematics and science, and I'm happy to see that in our school district here in Long Beach, that we have really put an emphasis and a focus on STEM for all of our students, not just our boys. So society is changing. I think we're taking down those gender barriers and being more inclusive. It does start at an early age with exposure, though, and that's what I would encourage. For families to really expose young girls to these areas of interest. Thank you.
You know, right now I work as a counseling psychologist at the University of California, San Diego, and working as a psychologist on a college campus. I have a lot of client students who come in, and you know, women, and especially women of color who are in the STEM majors, they really struggle, and I think part of that is a lot of their professors are men. They don't see a lot of other women in their classes, and sometimes when they're taking classes, they feel like based on, you know, their identity as being women, they get a little bit of discrimination from some of their male counterparts in their classes. And so sometimes when I have clients who come in to see me, you know, it could be a challenge for them being a STEM field. And so I think one thing that I tell them is, you know, having role models is really important. Picking a school where they make an effort to recruit female professors, going to an event where there's, you know, you see women of color in these STEM fields. And I think that makes a huge difference, because when you go somewhere, you're interested in a field and you see other people that look like you or people who can relate to your experiences, I think that definitely makes a huge difference. So exposure to role models from a really early age, helping to provide support and encouragement as, you know, as the women go on to college, I think that's really important too. Yeah, thank you. So now we'll move on to our next question. And so I think a lot of the mothers here have shared a little bit of this today, but you know, part of being a parent is to protect your child from experiences that may cause them distress, and mothers want to protect their daughters from oppressive experiences, especially when they see how boys and girls and men and women are treated differently in our society. And so mothers and daughters, can you share a professional challenge you overcame For example, a challenge you overcame while you were pursuing your education, or a challenge you overcame at work. And then mothers, how did you prepare your daughters to handle these challenges?
So again, aloha and talofa everyone. My name is Kolini. A professional challenge that I am always overcoming is trying to defend my heritage. And it actually happened to me this past week. I was in a meeting with some faculty members and I introduced myself and I said, hi, my name is Kolini. And then the faculty person said, oh, is that Hawaiian? Oh, no, it's Samoan. Oh, same thing, it's pretty close. And that response isn't something, I'm very used to that response. I've had that ever since I was younger. Everyone would always confuse, everyone assumed that Samoans and Hawaiians are the exact same thing because we all live in the ocean. But through my education and through reflection and self-identity and searching, and it just really discovering who I am as a Samoan and Native Hawaiian person, I now have the language to respond to individuals like that. When I was younger, I didn't. I just kind of laughed along like, oh, you adult person. You're probably right, same thing. But as I got older, I realized that it's difficult for me as a Native Hawaiian to be Hawaiian when the world is being Hawaiian for me. Whether it's putting on themed events in my culture, having luau's, or having my culture displayed as a Halloween costume. It's very difficult. And when I was younger, I didn't see it. Now that I'm older, I do. And I'm a lot more proud to be Native Hawaiian and Samoan because I know the struggles that people went through, are still going through, and I know will continue to go through. But with this pride, I carry myself a lot differently. You've noticed I introduced myself with my whole name because my whole name is a part of me. I not only represent myself, my parents, my family, but my ancestors before me and the struggles that they too had to endure. Thank you.
I am looking at this question, and it's very interesting. And as a parent, we all protect our children, no matter what. The way I raise my children is there is no distinguish between male and female. And in my culture, there is no word to distinguish male and female. Men do the cooking, they do the cleaning, and they do everything else. And it's 100% between my husband and myself. That's how we raised our family. Challenge in the master's program, I was at my master's, carrying double masters, and I received a letter that I cannot receive the second because I didn't go through the proper procedure. And as a female receiving a special master's in applied statistics, I was informed that there are certain rules and regulations, as we always know, that we have to go through. But I went directly to the president of the university and solved that issue. The next one is going through with the working. I was the only female in the finance department. And unfortunately, that you always go through challenge in life. But that challenge, it helps you build your family when you start. In 2000, when my daughter first started in elementary school, I quit from work and I raised them. Prepare them for school, that was my main goal. Is before they enter into school, they master every subject. Whatever they cannot master in school, I prepare them. And when I always have meetings with teachers and I inform them, please do not keep my children's work. I want them to send it home. Because when I see their progress, that's the only way for me to see the progress of my children is to see their work. And while I look at the work they have, if they make mistakes in certain areas, I prepare and I create a new test for them. So as parent, we're going through the way of life, and somehow we cannot protect our children in many ways. We have to make them strong in every possible way, prepare them. For example, I taught them all music. Doesn't matter what music it is. I made them all different sports, boys and girls. It doesn't matter. Just, my famous saying is, we're not perfect because we're parents. There is no book for us as parents how to follow and how to raise our children. We go through the progress and we learn through our ways. And this is how I am by looking at your question. And I really, the way right now, she's in the master's program at Cal State Long Beach, and have 2 children at Loyola Marymount University, a freshman and a sophomore and a junior. And the last one is at California Academy of Mathematics and Science. And I just want to thank all the parents, especially the mothers and daughters in here, because there is a reason why we're here, and we're here to build the future for all generations. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. As I'm reading this question, we definitely want to protect our children from all the experiences. But there was a saying out there, a phrase, without struggle, there's no progress. So you have to understand the struggle, the adversity that we go through. I also wanted to say that one of the professional challenges that I went through was I had my daughter while I was in college. I decided not to get married. I kind of broke every single rule that my community, my mom had placed on me. But love my mom. We have a great relationship now to a certain degree. But those are the reasons why, as we challenge each other, challenging my mom to understand where I'm coming from, me finding a voice, because we believed in arranged marriages. At 15, I tried to be put in an arranged marriage, and I said no. And that was like me finding my real first voice, and understanding as a Khmer woman and a woman of color that these are some of the struggles that I went through, but understanding where she's coming from, because in our culture we believe in arranged marriages, and being able to forgive that we come from different places, and it's okay because now we come to a mutual understanding. But moving forward, I also want to put out there that Khmer women and Khmer women of color, a lot of us have not graduated some of us high school, let alone college. So being able to partake in this panel, and thank you mothers and daughters as well, is phenomenal. And I'm from the Bay Area, by the way, so we're out here because of this. And because speaking to me, Jan Hobson, she inspired me to be here. That we can come together, not just from being here in Long Beach, the whole entire community, and maybe even having something out in the Bay Area. So I wanted to share that while in college, I had my daughter. My last final was, I took my last final, and then 3 days later, I had her. So my professors were like, well, why are you even still here? I'm sitting this way, I'm big. And I was like, you know what? Because I didn't want to be that statistic. I did not want to be people saying in the community saying, oh, look, you're a single mom, you didn't want to get married, you're breaking every single rule. I was not going to let that happen to me, let alone that, especially if I decided to have it with my daughter, and I wasn't going to let that happen to my daughter. So that's what I prepared her for as she was growing up. There was no blue or pink for her as she was growing up, and that's what I had in part for her, so she can understand as she was growing up, to find her own identity, to find her own passion. And singing is one of her good passions. But I'm going ahead and now, that's what I wanted to say, that as we are growing and uniting here, and with mothers and daughters, that I am so honored to be a part of this.
So as you can tell, I have a strong mother, and I am so thankful that she's here by my side to share a professional challenge that I've overcame being 22 years old and being a transitional youth, I feel like we all struggle with going to college, while going to work, while trying to find an internship, while trying to find a job, all at the same time. And she was there for me through it all. And now I work at Hayward Unified School District as a 22-year-old, as a program leader, but going through that was really challenging. I cried, I laughed, I was mad at myself or something, but through it all I had her. I had to go through interviews, constant interviews for the school district. I had to do a 75 questionnaire that I had to pass. My resume had to be good, and she was there day and night helping me through that transition. And I was the youngest who actually got the job. Out of 40 people, there was only top 3. So, yeah.
I love hearing these personal narratives. I feel like they really give us a small glimpse of each one of your lives, and I'm really thankful to be here and hearing your responses as well. So now we'll move on to the next question. You know, every year that I've been facilitating the Mother-Daughter Conference, we've been able to have culturally and ethnically diverse mother-daughters. And as you look at our panelists, you know, they have lots of different identities. And so one thing that I know that's important to all of us is language and cultural preservation, and being able to pass along language and culture to the next generation. And so to mothers, what did you do to help pass along language and culture to your daughter? And for daughters, you know, growing up, what's a meaningful phrase in your native language that you've heard your mother say to you as part of her support and encouragement, you know, helping you to stay connected to the family and culture? And then if you would like to, we would love to be able to hear this phrase if you would like to share it.
Thank you for the question. When my daughter was born, it's fascinating because I just got a letter from Stanford that I got accepted to a PhD program. Then my mother passed away, and I was 3 months pregnant. So sharing this story it's very touched for me because the day that I delivered her, the nurse came and said, "Okay, I have Colini written down as her first name." I look at my husband and he looked at me and they say, "Who completed the form?" And then I said, "I don't know." So I looked and I said, "Okay, so Colini, that's my mother's first name." So I said, "Okay, she's gonna have all my mother's names." So she has Colini, it's my mother's first name. Fipuleai is my mother's last name. To'omlatai is my dad's last name. And then Coleman is our married family. A name alone, it represents who your child is. And in a Polynesian culture, a name, it represents generation and generation. Just people to see your name, it represents who you are, where you're from, what lineage of that whole name. And it's so important as a Polynesian mother to make sure that every child is in this world, it's named after some special meaning to it. And that name alone of my mother, and in her side, it has, I have to say, it's a heart. There's a shape of a heart that my mother planted. It's like a birthmark she has. So I turned to my daughter and I said, "You have my mother's heart. And please, whatever you do," as I mentioned to my children, when you walk out of my house, you're not only representing our family, but you're representing generation and generations of the Fipuleai family, the To'omlatai family, and the Coleman family. So please carry it proud and make sure people know who you are. Because when we arrived here, I was 13, my father said, "Let me look at the map." And I said, "The map of the world." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I showed him the map of the world. And I said, "Can you show me where Samoa is?" And I showed him a dot. I said, "That is Samoa, it's the dot, Dad." And they said, Samoa is not adopted. He sat me down and said, Malaya, you make sure that Samoa is not adopted. So I am here to say and share that Samoa is not adopted. we come this far, we raised our family, and our family I know in my heart, because my son, his name is Ulwalo Fainga, and the names of the generation of Haichis. My other son is named after my father, is Benyamina, my Malumatumua, Fa'angi To'omlatai Pome. My last son is Uyali'i, Tango Maidulangi, Fai Malumatumua Pome. The name of your child is so important. And no matter where they travel, if they travel through the Pacific, when they see the name, they know where they come from. And that's what I planted on my children, and I also mentioned it to them. Oleala ilepule, ole tautua, means path through life, path through all you think you do, that you do in life, through service. And that's what we do.
Yeah, definitely going off of that, taking pride in your name is sadly enough a rare thing. A lot of times, I know through my educational trajectory, I've always had teachers ask me, oh, do you have a nickname? Is there an easier way to say it? No, it's Kolini. First of all, it's phonetic, and it's only 6 letters, but it's Kolini. But a saying that my parents raised my brothers and I on is someone saying, is Sulu Ole Totua. And it was coined by my grandfather, who was the first governor of American Samoa, and it means torch of service. And he passed on that torch to his people. His daughter, my auntie, is now the first Congresswoman of American Samoa. She's passing that torch on to her constituents. My parents passed that torch on to me, to my brothers and I. We are constantly passing on those torches in our circles of influence, because that torch of service, giving back especially to the communities who make you the person you are today, is very important. The role of leaders is to create other leaders, and that's what we do every day through interactions. And at times we may not know it. A simple hello, a simple, how you doing? You just never know who the next leader is and how your interactions can affect. And the second saying that my parents raised me on is a Hawaiian saying, Ku'e ikapono, which means find your path. And a lot of times through life, it's very difficult to find your path, or your path can change. I too was on an attorney route. I'm now going towards education, but you just never know where your historical trajectory will take you. So another saying I will leave you all with is, growth begins when comfort ends. So to everyone here, take that challenge, embrace the awkwardness, because that always happens, and just trust the process. Thank you.
Before April 1975, my daughter Sarah was 9 years old at that time. My name
is Beth.
My name is Sarah Latour. Before April 1975, Sarah, my daughter, she was 9 years old at that time, and she cannot read yet. So when we was forced to get out of the house or the city, we cannot have any book or anything to sign ourselves that we can read or write or be educated. So I found a piece of newspaper flew from somewhere and stuck at my feet. So I picked it up and stuck it in my pocket. So with that piece of paper, whenever she come to see me, I had to keep her overnight to teach her the alphabet or the vowel and teach her to read words. Just reading and knowing the alphabet and the vowel. So she can read. Accidentally, she picked a paper from somewhere and she read to the Khmer kid. That was to punish to get killed. But I don't know until she told me. So she knows how to read then. By 1978, I found a piece of paper that there is a song in there. So I gave her a piece of paper and a pen, let her write it down. So she keep writing and until she do it a straight line, and then I accept it. So she know how to write it then. So that's the way that we teach her reading and writing Khmer to this day. So I keep telling her to read the book, Khmer book, but she don't have time to read. To learn more about Buddhism, she didn't read too. Well, now you know language and culture is within me, right? So it's truly, my mom before 75, I remember going to school, so I do have the basic. But imagine being in the area where language is no longer alive, right? And beside hiding to make sure that I still learn my basic Khmer language alphabet, my mom is telling us, okay, if the intellectual is target now, so you pretend that you don't know nothing, right? You've never been to school, which I was back then in the basic. But it's to her keeping me aware of the language that I come from. It helps me to do what I do today in the community. And in May 22nd of this year, in a few more months, I will complete a doctorate degree in education from Cal State Long Beach, right? To do that to her. But the basic transformation for me and my own cultural and my own identity is through that language, right? And my mom was really always insist, and I know that the words that you want me to share, and for her is Khmer soul, right? So always trying to study and educate, and so education then become my solution to a lot of tension and problem that I have. So when we know that we was going to come to America in the 1980s, we were in 2 years in refugee camp, and all the teenagers, I was about 14 then, all 14 or 15, all the teenagers, they were so thrilled in learning their English so that they can come here, the basic English ESL. And my mom say, no, you can't go to another language if you don't even know your own. So, and you're not going to be able to learn English as well. So what she did is she's bringing all this book and throw them at me and helping me and say, read and write in Khmer. So, and I was disappointed, but
I had nothing else to do, so I was reading and writing in Khmer. So when I came here, we came here in 1983, and she just dropped me off at school one day and said, "Go learn," and I was scared, and I didn't know my basic. When I see some of the teenagers my age, they have their basic hello, how are you? I was looking at them disappointed that I couldn't find, didn't learn the basic to say hello. And so, but it was scary, but I love educational system here. Through ESL, I worked my way up, and in a few more months, I'll be able to getting that educational leadership doctoral degree that in part, it was the inspiration from my mom, who during the era of forbidding to educate, to study, to learn your own language was, it's a journey for us that to be able to do something and also help to build my kids, having that foundation identity that they can do more for our community and for their future.
Thank you for sharing all those cultural phrases and sharing more about your language and culture. So now we have just 2 remaining questions left. And so the next one is, life has many ups and downs, and school and work can be really busy and can cause all different kinds of stress. And so it's really important to have balance and find ways to taking care of yourselves and your families. And so many different kinds of families provide support in lots of different ways. And it could be in the form of mental, emotional, financial, and physical support. And so to the mothers and daughters, how do you take care of yourself and how do you support each other? Maybe go to Liz and Chloe first.
So I'm a very, very busy person. Oh, I'm Chloe. Sorry. I'm Chloe. And this is my mother. I'm very, very busy. I am involved in a lot of activities outside of school. I'm a Girl Scouts, and I'm currently earning my Girl Scout Gold Award, which requires over 100 hours of service, and I have to create a sustainable project. I'm involved in a Youth Leadership Long Beach program. I am president of 2 clubs at school. I was actually Belle in our last production. We did a musical, Beauty and the Beast. I'm very involved in musical theater as well, and I played the lead in that show. I have 8 classes at school, 2 of which are APs, so I'm really busy. And I do a lot, and my mom is always there to support me throughout everything because I just don't always have time to do what I need to. So, she always makes sure I have all of my schoolwork in the morning. She's like, "Do you have your English work? Did you have the homework you were working on last night?" She always makes sure I have everything together. And whenever I need her to run lines with me or make sure that I'm memorized or I have my good talking points for a speech, I'll always have her listen to it and Oscar, is this good? Do I need to add anything here? And she always gives me great advice. She always proofreads my essays, make sure there aren't any grammatical errors or anything. And she lets me sleep in on the weekends, which is really nice. She always makes sure that I have everything that I possibly need to be successful, and she's just very supportive of me.
Good morning. I'm Liz Haynes, and this is my daughter Chloe. You can imagine I'm ridiculously proud of her, as are, I believe, all the moms in the room proud of their daughters and sons here today. She said she's taking 8 classes. She actually got credit for 9 because of her role in the performance, and she brought home a report card with straight A's, so I'm really proud of that. Can you hear me better now? Sorry. So one thing I would like to sort of start with saying is I've always believed in the expression, those to whom much is given, much is expected. And what I mean by that is Chloe's always had a roof over her head. She's always had good food to eat. She's always had clothing. If she needs school supplies or to be taken somewhere for school or for an activity, I'm always there for her. So I expect a lot. I expect her to work very hard. I expect her to work academically. be involved in school, committed to the community, performing community work. And I try to lead by example myself. I work at the City of Long Beach. I'm involved in a big project. I've been averaging about 60 hours a week for a long time now. Try to run the house as we do. One of the ways I show her love, we were talking about how we show our children love, is I cook. I'm always cooking something for her, cooking something for her friends, having her friends over. So when the question is more about sort of work-life or work-school balance and how do we take care of each other, I think the answer is not as well as we could, or at least for me, not as well as I should take care of myself as a mom, because I think many of us are always taught to take care of the family first. And I think that's great. That's what we do. That's what is a part of our culture. But we also need to take care of ourselves. So some of the things that I like to do is just spend time with the family. It sounds kind of corny, but we play board games. In the evenings, we sit down and we'll sit around the table and we'll, yell at each other and call each other names because you're winning the game and I want to be winning the game. We go out to movies, we watch TV, all of the typical things, but we also like to go to see theater productions, go on vacations, spend time together. It's a little bit that kind of work hard, play hard. I would like to think that we lead by example in terms of how hard we're working, but we're also try to do things that support each other. I try to, if she's running late, make her breakfast. We try to help each other because otherwise we just won't be able to get through it all. And I think that this world today where there's almost this culture of being proud of being too busy and one-upping each other with, I do these important things, I'm so important, I'm so busy. Sometimes we forget that the most important thing is just spending time with family. So that is a good way that we relax, and we do that a lot.
I just want to add that in that cultural shock, that in terms of taking care of each other as a parent, as a mom, we're always taking care of each other. And what I love so much about this culture, American culture, is stressing the importance of us taking care of ourselves first before we can take care of others, right? So when I was on the airplane, I can never understand, and a lot of my family in Cambodia, we thought instantly, when in case of emergency, when they give you this instruction to make sure you put the mask, the oxygen mask, on yourself first before you put it on your children or whoever minor that's going flying with you. And I used to think that, gosh, in case of emergency, my mom, the first thing, go for the kid. Put it on the kid first, but not the adult. So it took me a long time until I became a mom. Then I realized the culture that we learn here and that we need to put that oxygen on ourselves first so that we can save our kids. And that means the guidance that we provide for them, right? So instantly, when I thought about saving the kid first, then what happened when I've gone, right? So the direction, the guidance, and the nurturing will not be there. And that it's not going to be long term. So what I learned, the greatest lesson is take care of yourself, Mom. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to take care of your children in the long run. Like sometimes I would tell my mom, you do this, eat this right, and like to make sure that you last 90, or at least my son told her, he's 13, and say, you can live longer and help watch my kid too, Grandma. So it's important for all of you and all of you in this room that are mom or not mom, share with your parents that as a mom, you have to take care of yourself first.
Having a busy life can be very stressful. For me to be able to balance my life, I have a set daily routine. I wake up an hour early to meditate, pray, and start the day with calm thoughts. Then I do my affirmation, where I would say I eat healthy, life is good. Next, I would do a visualization for my weekly goal. Then I would exercise at least 3 times a week to get my blood and oxygen flowing. Next, I would read books to fill myself with positive thoughts and ideas to improve myself. Lastly, I eat healthy so I can be the best I can be, mentally and physically. Consistency and discipline and taking actions is the key to success. My daughter and I support each other by communicating, and I don't mind asking any type of help from her because she'll always make time for me. We are open to what problems and issues that we encounter, and I've been supporting and nurturing her since day one. I'm always there cheering her on for academics, sports, and other type of activities she was ever involved in. I gave her space during her teenage years for her to grow and experience life for herself, but at the same time being aware of what is she up to. Since she is very independent, I felt like I had less stress when it came to teaching her a positive vision for her future. We go to church together every Sunday for worship and to ask God for spiritual help. We both support each other with God's guidance, and we'll continue to support each other in our lives. Now I'll answer my daughter's. So this is what she wrote. How do you take care of yourself and how do you support one another? I like to take care of myself by keeping an active and healthy lifestyle. I don't have much time for a lot, but I try to fit the gym in my schedule at least 3 times a week. It allows me to keep mentally focused and allows me to blow off some steam from a stressful workday. I have a pretty active lifestyle as I enjoy doing outdoor activities, and I'm constantly on the ice teaching kids. Since I'm a fairly busy person, I like to eat healthy throughout the day so I don't feel sluggish by the mid-afternoon to the evening when I am coaching. My mom and I support each other by being involved in each other's lives, even though we are both very busy. She recently started work part-time for a company called Arbonne. When she started, needed people to help her promote the products, and I was more than willing to spread the word about the company and also try the products out for myself. She supports me in the little ways that matter the most to me. Just this past year, she took time out of her day to come with me to a competition in San Diego and in Ontario, and she even let me use her car so I wouldn't waste miles on my own car. She also attended my skating rink's Christmas show to show her love and support for the work I do with the kids. Even to this day, she supports me in many ways. No other mother than a skating mother can to support their daughter. I know she'll be the support to whatever life throws at me. Thank you.
I really like what you have just shared because I relate to that a lot. I recently started this theme of the week. So Monday I would have Mindfulness Monday. Tuesday is Transformative Tuesday. That's where I do a lot of visualizing, a lot of things in the house for my family, and I encourage my parents to do the same so that we can have the space in the house. Wednesday, I call it a Wellness Wednesday. That's when I take a walk with my mom. And it's really great to just spend the time with the people that are in your support system to help you go on with the day and improve the work balance cycle. Thursday, I call it Thankful Thursday, and that's when I send email out to people that helped me in the past or at the moment. And Friday, a lot of times I would call it Fun Friday. And that's when I go out with my girlfriends. That's when I participate in a lot of community events and I invite my moms to come with me. Saturday, I call it Solitude Saturday. And I spend that Solitude Saturday by myself. A lot of time I go to Irvine and I meditate. And I share that message with my mom. Nowadays, she doesn't work anymore, so she isn't out there in the community or in the society as often. She's more closed off in the home, and so I told her to practice meditation. Take the time to relax. And I know it's hard for a lot of mothers because they always want their daughters to be out there and doing a lot of great things, but I think it's also important to slow down, to take a time to breathe, and have that balance within your inner self. And then Sunday, I would call it Soulful Sunday. That's when I listen to a lot of podcasts and YouTube video, and having discussion in the family, taking the time to spend with my dad and my brother.
Some final thoughts from Liz and Chloe in terms of just anything that they would like to share with our audience today, any message, advice, anything that you heard today that you feel like you want to give a final message out to our audience.
So I just want to thank everyone for being here today. This was really a wonderful event, and I would like to give a round of applause to all the mothers and daughters here. I really enjoyed everyone's story and hearing what they had to say about their culture. I just thought it was really beautiful. Yeah, and I really enjoyed my time and being here. And I think that despite all of our differences, I know that something that all of us have in common is just our love and our bond as a mother and a daughter, and that is really one of the strongest bonds. And I'm one of the youngest daughters here, I think probably the youngest. And so seeing all the older mother and daughters, they're really inspiring to me. And I know that like my mom and I will last, and I can see me, being 29 and talking to her every day on the phone. And I can definitely see that. And as I'm approaching college, and I'm thinking like, oh, do I want to go farther away from home, or do I want to stay towards home? I know that no matter what decision I make, my mom and I will be close.
Get me teared up, sweetheart. This has been a really interesting panel discussion. I really appreciated all the discussion about the different types of diversity. And I think one thing I'd like to share is that there are so many different ways of looking at diversity in different types. And one of them I'd like to share about is sexual orientation. I'm a lesbian. I identify as someone being gay. So my wife and I have raised our two daughters, who are now 17 and 19, since birth. So what that means is our families never look like other people's family. And if you just see me individually, you might see someone that fits into the norm or the majority, but then when you see our family, we do look a little bit different. So we've always had to talk to our children about what is it that makes a family. I even remember being so excited when we found this book about what makes a family, and it showed families with a mom and a dad and two moms and two dads and a grandma and a guardian and all these different constellations of what makes a family. And at the end of the book it said that what makes a family is love. And I think that's something we really have always talked about and we've always shared. And so I know that when our daughters were born, we were worried that they would maybe be teased in school or maybe have a harder time, and it wouldn't be their fault, it would be based upon their parents. And so we always talked to them about, this day might happen, and sure enough it did. And so, one day our daughter comes home from school and says someone has teased them, something about them having two moms. And the great part was that our daughter wasn't really upset. Our daughter thought it was kind of funny, because she said that this girl didn't know that love is what makes a family. Like, isn't that so silly? She didn't know that. And so I think what raising our daughters has taught me, or what I hope some of the values that we inculcated in our daughters, is about love, and it's about acceptance. And not too long ago, Chloe had a friend who was transgendered in high school. And what that means is she was born as a girl, but she identified as a boy. And she was having a lot of struggles with her family at home who were not accepting her for who she was. And in the end, the mother kicked Jack, the child, out of the house. And we ended up taking Jack into our house, and Jack lived with us for the rest of the school year so that they could finish out the school year before we could make some other arrangements for her to be with him to be with his grandmother. But what I was most proud about was how supportive Chloe was of her new friend and of her ability to see beyond what maybe others had seen, and to recognize that we had a good relationship, and she wanted Jack to have that similar relationship with another family who could love and spend time with him. So I think the takeaway from all of this is just love. It's love your children for who they are, whatever it is they look like when they're goofy or nerdy or silly or won't stop singing in the shower or at the dinner table. It's just about love. That's my takeaway.
Thank you for those final thoughts. You know, I'm feeling so inspired hearing all of these stories and hearing from the mother-daughter pairs up here. Thank you so much for sharing. So we just have a few minutes for some Q&A portions, of taking any questions or any thoughts or reflections as you all have been sitting here listening to our mother and daughter. So I'd like to open up to the audience if they have any thoughts, reflections, or any questions.
So as someone who has had family members from outside of another country, like my personal experience is being a first-generational daughter, like what experiences have you had where there was miscommunication or like a lack of understanding and you had to get over that, per se?
Great question. Love it. Yes. Being first generation myself, I did talk a little bit about what my parents wanted to arrange marriage me at 15. So with that, I was thinking when they said that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to be sweet 16. I'm going to be 16 and never been kissed because I had to get married. However, learning where she was coming from, and as I was growing up and going to college, taking women's studies classes, I had to understand that's how she was raised, and that's what she knew because they were also arranged marriage, and that was part of their culture. And forgiving the fact that, and understanding that that's where they came from, and trust me, we had moments, you know. I got kicked out of the house because I didn't want to get arranged marriage. Then when I had my daughter, who's also mixed race, the language, there's cultural stereotypes, barriers that were put upon me as a woman and a woman of color, Khmer woman. So I think it's being able to try to talk to your parents and understand where they're coming from. There's always going to be tears, there's going to be laughter, there's going to be pain. But in that pain is where you're going to find something that's going to grow from it. So that pain is where you go ahead and talk to your parents and have them understand, try to understand where they're coming from. But also, your parents are always going to be your parents. They're never going to change. And just, that's the way they are.
Do we have another question from the audience or any thoughts or reflections about what you've heard?
Okay, another question. It's so interesting hearing like different cultural backgrounds from like, people who are mixed race, from people who came to this country and then had their kids. So being in America, I'm very curious as to what was it like, that transition, or like keeping your culture, but like that transition of coming here or just living here and just getting an and just still keeping what is alive while still being American.
Okay, great question. Speaking of someone who have to adjust, learn a new language and trying to fit into the culture, the best part about that is that yes, you learn the language so that you can fit in the culture, but what grounded me is that knowing very well of my own language as well, and the community setting, it helps me to identify, right? So you ground in your own identity, and that's really help. And the idea of the more the merrier. So it's not like mainstream culture. You have to assimilate to fit into one norm, but you learning to the variety of things that you enjoy. The fact that you're able to enjoy hot dog and hamburger, you know, I never tasted that before, but when I tasted that was it. And then learning that every day in your household, of course, you know, my mom made rice most of the time, and so you kind of take part of everything that you learn as a new immigrant or you know, the first generation from where you're coming from, and then you collaborate with what you're exposed to, and just take the best of both worlds. You'll be successful.
One last comment. First, I'd like to say you're great for being so brave and speaking up and asking 2 questions in a row, because sometimes you're a little hesitant. That's very, very good. So good on you. But I also want you to appreciate that you are connected to your culture. I'm 3rd generation American. Both sets of my grandparents were born here in the United States. And at that time, you were shamed and disciplined for speaking Spanish. And so my grandparents didn't speak Spanish to my parents. And I don't speak Spanish. She doesn't speak Spanish. There's a great disconnect with our culture. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I really started to learn and embrace the heritage that I have. So consider yourself very fortunate that you are so connected. It's great to be American, it really is, but we all come from somewhere. We all come from somewhere, and it's important that you maintain that identity and learn a little bit more about it, because it will only make you better.
As a Pacific Islander, when I arrived here, I didn't know how to speak English. I understand the question very well. But in the household, we all spoke, somewhat. And it's very hard when you come and you have a culture shock by going to school and you were teased for not speaking English. So they placed you in what they call a special ed, because they couldn't identify who you are. And you go through that struggle, but you learn so many things when you struggle, because you learn to master the skills. And as you progress through life, and I raised my children, I taught them someone little. But I found out when you complete a form and you say that they speak another language, they automatically place your child into a different category. And they have to be tested every time in order for them to get out of that program. Therefore, when I completed forms, I said they do not speak any language other than English. And it's sad, but wherever you go, you need to observe what's good for your children and what is not. And you master every skill as you go along, whatever the process is. You understand the process, but you have to learn the process and make it better for your children. And as a Polynesian, I speak Thai chief language and I also speak the normal language. And every time when I'm at home, I speak to my parents in my native tongue. But when you go to school, it's hard to transform sometimes, because sometimes your mind is Samoan and then we're trying to speak English. And as today, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to learn, because English is not an easy language to learn. But as an individual, you appreciate who you are. It makes you unique. It makes you special. Remember, when we are here, how my grandfather put it, and he put it very wisely, we are here to bless the world. Each one of us, we are here for something. And every act of kindness is an act of peace. So when we are here, as we are here, one heart and one heartbeat. And that's how we connect.
Thank you so much, everyone. And so please give a last round of applause for all of our mother and daughter panelists. Thank you all so much. And now we'll move on to our next part of the conference. Thank you.
Excuse me, wow. May I present? As part of all the parents and all the mothers, and I will speak in my native tongue. Which fatulo pa ia malu of your mind, patala my aule ne yaso. Tulo lava. At this time, I would like to call Jan. She is the mother while we're here. Jan, please come forward.
Please. Oh, you deserve every bit of it.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you for all you have done for us.
Thank you.